guys, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. How are you guys? It's Sunday afternoon. Yay! Welcome to my channel. I am so glad to have you here. I have promised that I would continue to deliver you content while we all are in a very unique space in our lives, and I will give you some content. Today we're going to follow up with Jenelle Eason. Now this is a person we have covered a lot on this channel. Jenelle is from Teen Mom 2, if you know. She's no longer on the cast, and she has been in the news for a lot of reasons over the last year. It all started last spring, actually, at the very end of April, when something happened to her dog, Nugget. And then there was some issues with, some kids. They had to go some places and talk to some people about some stuff that happened in their marriage and to the dog. And then she abruptly left her husband in the fall, and she had made some pretty bold claims about what was going on inside of their marriage and why she felt she needed to leave. In the months after she left, there was some speculation that Jenelle actually left because she wanted to get back onto Teen Mom 2. One of the reasons people said that she had lost her contract with Teen Mom 2 was due to the fact that she was unable to actually film very much because her husband made it kind of impossible to film. And because of that, they did not want to work with her. And then they also just didn't want to deal with David, who had previously been let go from the show. So people were speculating in the fall that she had left David because she thought that maybe if she left them, MTV producers would be willing to take her back to the show. Well, she did go to MTV. She went to MTV in New York in the fall, and unfortunately, they were not moved by her decision to actually leave David. And subsequently, they did not take her back. She will not be featured on the show, and her current contract that she's in will be up in April. At that point, she'll be able to move on to new projects, which she says she has in the making, although she alludes to some of them in a Q&A that she uploaded on her YouTube channel. There was a lot of things, there was nothing specifically provided. She just posted an updated Q&A. Now, a couple months ago on her YouTube channel, which she posts to kind of infrequently, she shared and answered questions from fans. During that Q&A, she was pretty cagey about the status of her relationship with her husband, David. She had claimed that they were just friends, although there had been photos of them walking pretty cuddly in Nashville, as well as some suggestions like she dropped a whole case that she brought against him in Nashville. And with that being said, people believed that by dropping that, she would be getting back with David. And that's exactly what happened. She denied it in her last Q&A, but in a Q&A that she actually uploaded yesterday, she got pretty candid about what is going on with David. She also answered questions about Jace, as well as answered questions about Amber Portwood. I'm going to start out with the Jace and the Amber Portwood stuff, and then we're going to spend the rest of the time going through some of her claims about David. Now, she is now sort of going completely 360 degrees away from what she said in the fall about her marriage, which is interesting. It's hard to ever know what's the truth and what's the lie when it comes to Jenelle, and because we'll never get the straight answer, we can only go off history of what she has said. So here is what she has said about her relationship and her current situation with Jace.
Do you think your mom will let you have Jace full time or no? He deserves to spend time with y'all. Right now, Jace lives with my mom. Of course, everyone knows that. I am slowly trying to convince her once again to just let Jace live with me so I don't have to take her to court. It costs a lot of money.
So she wants to settle this civilly. Now, interestingly, she has not had primary custody of Jace since he's been like a baby. So it's unlikely, unless Jace were to say that he wanted to move and be with his mother, that anything at this point in time would change because he's like 11 years old. I'm not sure if when he turns 11, he'll want to move forward and move in with his mom, because this fall, she told me that Jace was happier now that she had left David. Barbara had never been a huge fan of David, so we'll just have to see how this all plays out.
Sister you that they kept Amber but cut you. Now, this has been a question that everyone has asked me for a while, and honestly, it bothers me. I mean, I think that it's very unfair, and I didn't really do anything wrong. So we'll leave it at that.
Okay, so she says that she's upset that Amber was not fired considering what happened with Amber this past summer. You know on my channel what happened with Amber, and she says that she did nothing, and so she finds it unfair that MTV would let her go. While the incident with her dog was part of the reason she was let go, it was more so that they didn't have any film of her. She was actually cut out of chunks of last season or 2 seasons ago because they didn't have enough filming. They had to do phone calls with her. There was an entire episode she was cut out of because they didn't have anything to film. They didn't have anything to show of her. It's more probable that David was such a distraction and made filming so impossible that MTV just had it. The same reason why Farrah was actually let go, not because of her involvement with the adult stuff, but rather the way that she treated the staff. And if you are not kind to the production and you make them feel unsafe, it's unlikely they're going to want to work with you. While I understand she did nothing, her choice to stay with David and remain with him would be a huge factor to the MTV producers. And I think a key reason why they never rehired her was because they feared she would go back with him, and she did. Now she's going to finally answer what happened and is she back together with David?
You back with David? Yes. Me and him are deciding to work things out right now, and we're taking it slowly. Yes, I know I came back to North Carolina. Yes, I'm living here permanently now. The reason why I came back to North Carolina is because I cannot afford rent and a mortgage. I have to choose one or the other. And I have a house here that I own. I don't own the apartment in Tennessee, so I decided to move back. And all the kids have their own space here. It's very spacious. We have 11 acres of land for them to play on, and you know, Kaiser and Ainsley, they really miss the animals, really miss the chickens, the goats, everything. So
Okay, Jenelle, so you're back together with David because it was too expensive for you to have a home and rent an apartment. Here's the issue. Why did you leave your house if David couldn't afford to stay there? And if David couldn't afford to stay there, why wouldn't you just kick him out and return to your home? Or why wouldn't you just have him buy you out of your buy you out of the mortgage? Or why wouldn't you have him pay the mortgage that he was staying in at the property? When you're actually in a marriage and you're when you divorce, you shouldn't have to pay for two things. And of course it's going to be expensive. But being staying together because it's financially cheaper makes no sense. At no point did she actually say, I'm back because I love David and he is so amazing. But what else do you have to say about Jenelle? Let's see.
why are you on the land? Listen, you guys, I own this house, and the apartment I don't own. I cannot pay for $1,700 there, $1,000 here, every single month for two places, when now I've been here for like 2 months. So there's no point in going back to Tennessee unless something changes, like selling this house. And as of right now, I'm not planning on selling this house.
So she's again saying that she moved back because she couldn't afford her apartment for $1,000 or $1,700 a month, and her home that she says she spends $1,000 a month on, so a total of $2,700. Yet David was in the house, so why wasn't David chipping in and making the payments for his mortgage? And so you're going to move back because you yourself could not afford your apartment because David couldn't pay the mortgage? That doesn't make sense to me. Why wouldn't you guys work out an agreement for the property? All of this just seems like you didn't really leave for the right reasons, or it was faked, or you just are going back because you're broke. This doesn't seem like a valid reason to get back with your husband who you claimed was not very nice to you. But let's continue.
Back in NC permanently. I said this earlier, but yes, I am. David changed any for you to go back to him? A lot of things have changed. Me and him have decided to just try to remain positive no matter what, and if we have an issue, we really need to talk it out. I want to tell you guys that David has never abused the children. He's never abused me. And this is the reason why I decided to go back home and work out my relationship, because ultimately it's for my family.
Wait a minute. So now she's saying that never once in their relationship was he ever like physical? That is such a contradictory statement to what she actually told me when she left him this past fall. I said, how many times was he physical with you? And she said, I don't know, 2 to 3 times since being together from 2015 to 2019. She also went on to tell me that an altercation between the two of them in October of 2018 left part of her collarbone dislocated. And now she wants us to believe that nothing has ever happened. In a court document that she filed in Nashville, she outlined 11 different incidences where she claimed that he was doing things either to her or to her children. And now she says, no, that's not true. So what is it? Was he never these things? Or are you lying now? We already know what happened to Nugget. So my guess is you're lying now. And I can't understand why you would protect this guy, because he doesn't have a job. He can't pay the bills. He's he's a loafer. Why would you want to protect this? But let's continue. You can tell us more.
You and David sort things out. So while I was in Tennessee, I'm not gonna lie, I contacted David first, and I told him, I said, I'm sorry. And he contacted me back and he said, for what? And I said, I think we just ended things abruptly, and I think we need to try to work things out for our family and our marriage. And he said, okay. So once we started talking again, he did come visit 2 or 3 times, and when he did, before I moved back to North Carolina, I told him, I said, things have got to change. We cannot be so unhappy. We have to start communicating with each other about our problems, and we have to sort it out, and we can't let the same thing keep happening, or the same topic for an argument keep occurring.
Wait a minute. So you tell me, after you said that you abruptly left in October because you said that you were actually in a situation where you were concerned for yourself and for your children, that you reached out to him and reconciled with him? What? And you apologized to him? What? You apologized to him for leaving abruptly, which is not out of the possibility, not like an irrational response if what was going on at the time is how you described it in the court document that you filed in Nashville. So what the heck? Imagine being in this situation, you guys, where you are with someone like David and you are reaching out to them and you are apologizing to him for leaving him. All I have to say, Jenelle, is I really, really hope that if this is like what you want, you guys do not just not deal with this and you go through and stick it out with therapy, because nothing will change if he doesn't change. And I can't see how this will end well. But why don't we continue and finish, and you can tell us more.
How did you get past everything with David? I think things got so bad into our relationship where I was so unhappy that I needed to come out of it. And I feel like the only way to come out of it was if I were to distance myself. So I distanced myself for a little bit, and I realized that's not what I wanted, and I needed to work out my marriage. And I didn't want another failed marriage, and I just wanted the kids to be happy.
Okay, so she doesn't want another failed marriage and she wants her kids to be happy. Of course it was hard on the children to leave him. But again, at no place in here do I hear her say that I want to be back with David. This sounds like it was a financial decision. It was a decision because it was hard on her children, and it might have been a decision that it was hard on her to be responsible for all the children by herself without David. Because let's be honest, David wasn't working during their marriage. She was the one that was working, and he was likely the one that was doing a lot of the childcare because she was working, traveling, and doing everything for teen mom, as well as like all of her different cosmetic stuff. And it's hard to believe that she would suddenly like become single and then be able to manage all of that on her own. Part of me wants to be like, okay, you really do care about him. But the other part of me feels like this got too hard for you. It was too expensive for you. And the kids weren't happy. So I just went back. And I really hope that's not the case. I really hope it's because she just thinks he's the most wonderful man who doesn't have a job and doesn't contribute. But hey, he's great, right? All right, I think this is the last, or maybe one of the last parts of this, and then we will wrap this up.
Are things now that you're back? Things are pretty good. Like I said, the kids are happy here, and we're all happy here as a family. Feeling pretty blessed because I just realized, you know, when I was gone, what I was missing, and I wanted to come back home, and I did.
So she again is happy she came back for her family, but she's never once in this entire video said that she's happy to be back with David because she loves him and she cares about him. In fact, she's never actually said, I love him and I care about him. It's very obvious to me that she is back with him because it's the path of least resistance. It probably got hard, it was probably too much for her, and she's just going back because it's what's easiest. And hey, I understand it can be really hard to leave, but at the same time, I don't believe that what she put in those records was actually false. I believe she's just lying to herself now, and she's lying to all of us, which is why no one ever believes anything that she says. We all wanted her to change. I just don't think she did. Then there's this whole issue about her losing sponsorships when she was with him. And people said, well, she's just leaving him so that she can have sponsorships. Well, now that she's back with him, she's been losing sponsorships. And she addressed this at the very end of the video. And this was what she had to say.
True, you were losing sponsorships because you were back with David. No, that's not true. I know everyone has heard lately that I've been losing sponsorships. No, I haven't been losing them. I've been kindly taking down my posts because they just asked me to. Did I have to? No. Was I fired? No. Do you find it difficult to be single? Yes and no. I know you guys are like, what is she talking about? Because she hasn't been single for long, ever in her life. Alright, yeah, we all know this. But I do not do good being single. So yeah, I guess it's difficult because I can't even answer your question.
Well, there you go. Her two last statements answered everything for us. She claims that she's not getting fired by her sponsorship. She took these posts down because they asked her to, and that she was not fired. But I bet you they didn't rehire you. I bet you they paid you and then aren't going to be using you again. So theoretically, if the sponsorship actually goes away, it's sort of like you're fired, right? And then she actually admits at the end, she just can't be single. And this is what I've said from the beginning. It was too hard for her. She doesn't know how to be by herself. And instead of sticking it out, going through therapy and really taking care of herself to understand why she can't be by herself, she went back because it was easier, because she doesn't know how to be alone. Unfortunately, as much as she wants this to work, I don't think she's actually in love with David, and I really don't think that she went back for the right reasons. Again, these are my opinions, and I obviously want the best for her, but at the same time, like, I really wish she realized that the people that have followed her for 10 years are not buying this and really want her to wake up. We have wanted her to wake up for 10 years, so I'm not sure it's going to happen today, but this Q&A only solidified a couple things. She's lying, she's not in love with David, and she went back because it was easier. I want to know what your thoughts are. Again, these were my opinions, but what are your opinions? Did Jenelle go back because she was happier and she was in love with David, or did she go back because it was the easier thing to do? All right, you guys, I'll be back later with more. Bye.